The white-clad youth's sword strike was so powerful and fast that Duan Lingtian had no way to avoid it. I can only take this sword strike head-on. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, immediately channeling his solar true essence, and with the fastest speed, condensed the myriad sword domain. However, the sword in the white-clad youth's hand was simply too fast. Before the myriad sword domain could even take shape, it was crushed and shattered by the overwhelming force of the strike. As the myriad sword domain was shattered, the solar true essence vibrated, affecting Duan Lingtian and causing his internal organs to tremble. Wah! A mouthful of stagnant blood sprayed from Duan Lingtian's mouth, turning into tiny, blood-red stars. However, Duan Lingtian had no time to worry about his own injuries now. The white-clad youth attacked with his sword, like a sword immortal descending to the mortal world from the 9 heavens, intent on slaying him. The moment the myriad sword domain was shattered, the solar true essence within his body flowed through his 99 sacred meridians, instantly converging in his hand and erupting outwards, forming a golden, brilliant 3-foot green edge. Viewed from afar, it looked like a scorching sun. Whoosh! The white-clad youth's gaze was indifferent, his expression revealing no emotion, but the sword in his hand was like the Grim Reaper's scythe to Duan Lingtian, capable of reaping his life at any moment. Although he wouldn't truly die even if killed by the white-clad youth, Duan Lingtian did not intend to just sit and wait for death. This was already the final checkpoint of the divine ability relic. As long as he passed it successfully, he would be able to obtain a high-grade divine ability. Judging by the white-clad youth's movements, that divine ability was clearly an attack-type divine ability based on sword techniques. It was also the divine ability Duan Lingtian had dreamed of when he couldn't see hope earlier. Duan Lingtian had been very open-minded. However, now that he saw hope, Duan Lingtian was naturally unwilling to miss it. Try my best to kill him and obtain the divine ability he is using. If I try my best and still lose, then I will have no regrets. A crazed will quickly brewed in Duan Lingtian's mind. Driven by this crazed will, Duan Lingtian's figure moved. He flicked the 3-foot green edge in his hand, and it shot out like lightning, meeting the white-clad youth's descending sword strike. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. The power contained in the white-clad youth's sword strike was even comparable to the power of a great Saint Realm middle-stage expert. Although Duan Lingtian had also used his full strength, the sword strike he unleashed was still significantly weaker than the white-clad youth's. Asterisk whoosh. Whoosh. Asterisk. The 3-foot green edge shrouded in brilliant golden light finally collided with the 3-foot green edge in the white-clad youth's hand, tip against tip. Violent energy poured out from both directions, colliding and causing the surrounding void realm to tremble, as if it might crack open at any moment. What powerful strength! Upon colliding, Duan Lingtian immediately realized the terror of the white-clad youth's sword strike. The power on the white-clad youth's sword completely suppressed the power on his own sword, and it even flowed through his sword, into his hand, and eventually into his body. This force was vast and immense. Once it entered his body, it began to rampage, attempting to severely injure his internal organs. This force came surging in, and even though Duan Lingtian hastily mobilized the remaining solar true essence in his body, he could hardly withstand its onslaught. Oh no! Duan Lingtian's body jolted violently, and his expression changed drastically. Wang Feishuan, who stood not far away watching the battle, had been unable to intervene from the start. Now, seeing Duan Lingtian and the white-clad youth clash head-on and seemingly fall into a disadvantage, her expression changed, and she seemed to transform into a gust of wind as she rushed directly at the white-clad youth. After all, she was a Middle Saint Realm martial cultivator. When Wang Feishuan launched her attack, its power was not weak at all. Even as strong as the white-clad youth was, facing Wang Feishuan's attack, he timely withdrew a portion of his power, condensing it into a sword light that whistled out, shooting towards Wang Feishuan. Whoosh! Poochie! Accompanied by a crisp sound of a sword whistling, the sword light pierced through Wang Feishuan's body with overwhelming force. From beginning to end, Wang Feishuan didn't even have a chance to react. Too fast. This was the only thought left before Wang Feishuan's clone vaporized. Lingtian, good luck. As her divine sense left the clone and returned to her original body, and she was transported out by the sacred martial secret realm, Wang Feishuan silently thought to herself. While Wang Feishuan's clone was being killed by the white-clad youth, Duan Lingtian, who had been in dire straits, finally had a moment to catch his breath because the white-clad youth had timely withdrawn a portion of his power. It was this fleeting moment of respite that made Duan Lingtian inexplicably think of the mysteries of the second realm of the Supreme Heart Sword. The sword follows the heart. The sword moves with the heart. The power the white-clad youth had surged into Duan Lingtian's body was ultimately dominated by the power amplified by the sword-type divine ability, so it was also the power of the sword. And Duan Lingtian's Supreme Heart Sword was a supreme sword Dao mind cultivation technique. Although he had not yet cultivated it to the highest realm, by driving the mind cultivation technique of the second realm of the Supreme Heart Sword, it only took him a moment to drive all the power the white-clad youth had left in his body out of his body. At this moment, it was also time for Wang Feishuan's clone to vaporize. Die! Duan Lingtian's gaze turned cold. Before the white-clad youth could fully focus his attention on him, the 3-foot green edge in his hand trembled violently. In an instant, the mysteries of the second realm of the Supreme Heart Sword pulled on the solar true essence, and even the power that belonged to the white-clad youth that Duan Lingtian had driven out, converging it all on the 3-foot green edge in his hand. He thrust it straight out, like an angry dragon rushing out of its lair, slamming into the white-clad youth. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. With one sword strike, the sharp aura revealed a hint of coldness, causing the surrounding temperature to seem to drop by a few degrees. And this sword strike of Duan Lingtian finally pierced through the white-clad youth's body. The bloody scene did not appear, the latter directly vaporized. Finally solved. After destroying the white-clad youth, Duan Lingtian let out a sigh of relief. Thinking of the scene just now, he still felt some lingering fear. At the critical moment, fortunately, I activated the mind cultivation technique of the second realm of the Supreme Heart Sword, and drove all his power out of my body. However, it was also thanks to Wang Feishuan. If it weren't for her distracting him, even if I had activated the Supreme Heart Sword mind cultivation technique, I might not have been able to drive his power out of my body, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Crackle. Suddenly, a cracking sound came from above the void realm. Following that, Duan Lingtian looked up and saw at a glance that a crack had appeared in the void realm. Behind the crack, a huge stone sword appeared. The stone sword fell from the sky, tipped downwards, and firmly stabbed into the ground. It's actually not a stone tablet. According to Duan Lingtian's past experience, the divine abilities he obtained, except for the lesser devouring art, were almost all recorded in stone tablets. This was the first time he had seen a stone sword. However, when his divine sense merged into the stone sword, he quickly realized that, in fact, the stone sword was the same as the stone tablet. Both were carriers of divine abilities. It really is an attack-type divine ability based on sword techniques. High-grade divine ability, immortal flying from beyond the heavens. Duan Lingtian, whose divine sense had merged into the stone sword, soon knew what divine ability the white-clad youth had just used. Immortal flying from beyond the heavens, it truly lives up to its name. Earlier, when that white-clad youth fell from the sky, he was indeed like a sword immortal descending from beyond the 9 heavens. A sword came from the west, an immortal flying from beyond the heavens. Perhaps it was because Duan Lingtian had cultivated the supreme sword Dao mind cultivation technique, Supreme Heart Sword. It only took him half a day to memorize all the information about the divine ability, immortal flying from beyond the heavens, deep in his mind. With a single thought, he could bring them out to cultivate and comprehend. This trip to the sacred martial secret realm has been quite rewarding. With a flash before his eyes, the divine ability relic vanished, and Duan Lingtian returned to the place where he had found the entrance to the divine ability relic. There is still 1 day left. I might as well sit and meditate for a day. After calculating the time and knowing that the sacred martial secret realm would send him out tomorrow, Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged on the spot, waiting for the sacred martial secret realm to send him out the next day. Outside the sacred martial secret realm, Wang Feishuan's appearance also attracted the attention of many people. One must know that of the 30 people who entered the sacred martial secret realm, before Wang Feishuan came out, there were only 5 people left inside. Now that Wang Feishuan had come out, it meant there were only 4 people left inside. Young Miss Feishuan. Seeing Wang Feishuan come out, Lu Jian approached her immediately, his face full of guilt. I'm sorry, my strength was too weak, and I couldn't help. He and Wang Feishuan had discovered 2 divine ability relics together. Wang Feishuan had passed the first divine ability relic and given the divine ability to him. As for the second divine ability relic, they did not have the ability to pass it, and he was even killed and eliminated. You don't need to apologize. I gave that divine ability to you to repay the favor of your elders for Lingtian. From now on, Lingtian no longer owes your elders any favors. Do you understand? Wang Feishuan looked at Lu Jian indifferently and said, Yes. Lu Jian nodded. In the past, he didn't know why Duan Lingtian had sought to cooperate with him. It was to repay the favor his elders were owed. Now, however, he already knew. Or rather, after the relationship between Duan Lingtian and Li Feng as senior brother and junior brother was exposed, he knew that Duan Lingtian wanted to help Li Feng repay the favor of his elders, and his elder was the Hong Tao Mansion's second elder, Lu Hongwan. Girl, did you meet Lingtian inside the sacred martial secret realm? The hall master of the heavenly hall, Zhu Luqi, looked at Wang Feishuan, his eyes flashing with sharp light as he asked. Regarding Duan Lingtian's situation inside the sacred martial secret realm, everyone present was very curious. The reason they were curious was naturally because Duan Lingtian had broken into the first divine ability relic in the Xiankong Mansion's sacred martial secret realm alone, yet he had not been eliminated. There must be something strange going on. They all wanted to know how Duan Lingtian had managed to escape from that divine ability relic. Yes. Wang Feishuan did not know why Zhu Luqi asked this, but she still nodded in response. For the last 20+ days, I have been with him. As soon as Wang Feishuan finished speaking, the surrounding gazes, as if they had agreed upon it, all fell upon her simultaneously. Has he ever mentioned a very difficult divine ability relic he encountered? Do you know how he escaped from it? Qian Pingsheng, the hall master of the Yellow Hall, looked at Wang Feishuan and asked curiously. A very difficult divine ability relic? Escaped? Wang Feishuan frowned, then shook her head. He never mentioned it. It seems he didn't tell you. In that case, we can only wait until tomorrow to hear it from him personally. Qian Pingsheng nodded, then added. As time passed, half a day later, another person was eliminated. This person was also a Heavenly Hall disciple, none other than Gao Peng, the strongest Heavenly Hall disciple among the younger generation, excluding Duan Lingtian, Wang Feishuan, and Zhao Ji. Gao Peng was a martial cultivator at the mid-stage Middle Saint realm. However, after he came out, his expression was not very good. How could it be good? He almost passed the final barrier of that intermediate divine ability relic, but at the crucial moment, due to a small mistake, he was killed by the guardian of the final barrier using a divine ability. Because of this, he didn't obtain a single intermediate divine ability, only a few low-grade divine abilities. After Gao Peng came out, no one else came out early. It wasn't until the next day, when the time was up, that 3 figures appeared from within the sacred martial secret realm. They're out. One of the 3 figures was Duan Lingtian. After coming out, he let out a sigh of relief and stretched lazily, as if no one else was around. At the same time, he also noticed the 2 people beside him. These 2 were not Heavenly Hall disciples, but under his heavenly eye vision, their cultivation was completely revealed. They were both mid-stage Middle Saint Realm existences. It seems they are the other two mid-stage Middle Saint Realm disciples in Xiankong Mansion. Duan Lingtian had long heard that in Xiankong Mansion, besides Zhao Ji and Gao Peng of the Heavenly Hall, there were two other mid-stage Middle Saint Realm disciples, one in the Earth Hall and one in the Profound Hall. As for the younger generation disciples of the Yellow Hall, there were no existences above the mid-stage Middle Saint Realm. As soon as he came out, Duan Lingtian noticed that the gazes of the group of people outside were all fixed on him. What's going on? Duan Lingtian looked at Wang Feishuan, who was standing behind the Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall, and asked via voice transmission. They all want to know how you escaped from the first divine ability relic in the sacred martial secret realm. Wang Feishuan responded via voice transmission. Why didn't I hear you mention that first divine ability relic before? First divine ability relic? Duan Lingtian was bewildered. What was that? It's said to be a terrifyingly difficult divine ability relic. In the history of Xiankong Mansion, no one has ever been able to pass the first trial of that divine ability relic. Wang Feishuan said. In the history of Xiankong Mansion, no one has ever passed the first trial of that divine ability relic? Hearing Wang Feishuan's words, the first thing Duan Lingtian thought of was the bottomless swamp. The first trial of the bottomless swamp was definitely the most perverse among all the first trials of the divine ability relics he encountered inside. Unless one was a young expert whose strength could rival in existence at the Great Saint Realm level, there was no way to pass that trial. That savage beast clan was extremely terrifying. Duan Lingtian exchanged a few more words with Wang Feishuan and finally confirmed that the first divine ability relic in Xiankong Mansion's sacred martial secret realm was referring to the bottomless swamp. Without knowing what divine ability was recorded in the bottomless swamp, they actually universally recognized the divine ability recorded within as the first divine ability in Xiankong Mansion's sacred martial secret realm. Duan Lingtian never expected that the divine ability he obtained, the Lesser Devouring Art, would have such a title. However, they all want to know how I escaped from the first trial of the bottomless swamp. Does this mean no one believes I passed the trial and obtained the divine ability recorded inside? Duan Lingtian thought to himself. If I were to reveal the news that I obtained the Lesser Devouring Art, the divine ability recorded in the bottomless swamp, would Xiankong Mansion detain me and prevent me from leaving? Before coming out, Duan Lingtian hadn't considered this point. However, after coming out and realizing the extraordinary significance of the divine ability, Lesser Devouring Art, to Xiankong Mansion, this thought involuntarily popped into his mind. Although he was grateful to Xiankong Mansion for allowing him to obtain the Lesser Devouring Art, he never intended to stay in Xiankong Mansion indefinitely. At the latest, once his cultivation broke through to the Great Saint Realm, he would leave Xiankong Mansion and head to the upper domain of the Dao Martial Holy Land. With this thought, Duan Lingtian decided not to mention that he had obtained the divine ability, Lesser Devouring Art. Facing the inquiry from Qian Pingxing, the Hall Master of the Yellow Hall, his expression became slightly solemn, and he said, "When the surrounding swamp agitated, I felt something was wrong and chose to retreat immediately. Now that I think about it, if I had been any later, once the entire Savage Beast clan emerged, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to escape even if I wanted to." As he spoke, Duan Lingtian let out a sigh of relief, his face filled with lingering fear. "So that's how it is. Your luck is quite good." Qian Pingxing had no doubts about Duan Lingtian's answer. The others were much the same, as none of them believed Duan Lingtian could pass the first trial of that divine ability relic. He's really afraid of death. He chose to run away before those savage beasts even came out. And at this moment, a discordant voice appropriately sounded. The speaker was none other than Zhao Ji. "No matter how afraid of death I am, it's still better than certain people who were eliminated after only 3 days." Facing Zhao Ji's sarcasm, Duan Lingtian responded with a faint smile. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, many people present twitched their mouths. This Ling Tian really knows how to hit where it hurts. However, they all felt that Ling Tian couldn't be blamed. If anyone was to blame, it was Zhao Ji for speaking rudely first. Otherwise, how could Ling Tian expose his scar and slap his face in public like this? You? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Zhao Ji's face changed drastically. He opened his mouth to say something, but then his father Zhao Dang's voice transmission reminder came to his ear, causing him to immediately shut his mouth and say to Duan Lingtian via voice transmission, Ling Tian, you and I are irreconcilable. In Xiankong Mansion, there's no room for both of us. Then it's definitely no room for you. Duan Lingtian responded indifferently via voice transmission, seemingly not taking Zhao Ji's threat to heart at all. Just you wait. Zhao Ji coldly snorted via voice transmission and said nothing more, but his eyes, fixed on Duan Lingtian, seemed as if they could burst into flames at any moment. Although Zhao Dang, next to Zhao Ji, said nothing, a hint of coldness and chill flickered deep within his eyes as he looked at Duan Lingtian. If gazes could kill, Duan Lingtian would have probably been cut into 1,000 pieces by him long ago. Duan Lingtian naturally noticed the sinister gazes of the Zhao father and son, but he didn't care. That day at the Heavenly Hall Peak, when he gave Zhao Ji 2 slaps, he had already mentally prepared himself to stand against the Zhao family lineage. Because of this, when he later encountered Zhao Ji in the sacred martial secret realm, he killed Zhao Ji's clone and eliminated Zhao Ji at the first opportunity. Since he had already offended them, offending them further was no big deal. Who is that? Suddenly, Duan Lingtian noticed an unfamiliar gaze fixed on him. When he turned his head, he saw a gaunt old man standing in the distance, quietly watching him. This old man was someone he had never seen before, not among the high-ranking officials of Xiankong Mansion he had previously met. Elder Ku, you've seen the person now? As you said before, shouldn't you be leaving? Zhu Luqi, the hall master of the Heavenly Hall, looked at Ku Mi and said indifferently, Elder Ku. Duan Lingtian's eyes showed a hint of surprise. It seemed this old man was not from Xiankong Mansion. Otherwise, Zhu Luqi, the hall master of the Heavenly Hall, would certainly not speak to him like that. At the same time, Duan Lingtian noticed that when the gaunt old man looked at him, a hint of disappointment was clearly visible in his eyes. What is he disappointed about? Duan Lingtian was utterly puzzled by this. He was sure this was the first time he had seen the old man, so what could the old man be disappointed about when facing him? Duan Lingtian naturally didn't know that the old man standing before him was none other than Ku Mi, one of the 2 capable generals beside his nominal father, Duan Rufeng. The reason Ku Mi's eyes showed disappointment was because he noticed that Duan Lingtian had not used the disguise secret art. It's not the young mansion master. Ku Mi had seen Duan Lingtian's portrait. In comparison, the current Duan Lingtian was not the young mansion master he was looking for. However, Ku Mi never imagined that the young man standing in front of him was precisely the young mansion master he was searching for. It was just that this young mansion master had used the disguise secret art to change his appearance without leaving any traces, which was why he looked like this, with no discernible signs of disguise. Mansion Master Meng, farewell. Facing Zhu Luqi's aggressive stance, Ku Mi completely ignored him. Instead, he looked at Meng Qing, the mansion master of Xiankong Mansion, who was not far away, bid farewell, and then left. Ku Mi's departure was a complete disappearance out of thin air before the eyes of most people present. Among those present, only Meng Qing could clearly see Ku Mi's departing figure. What incredible speed! The expressions of the high-ranking officials of Xiankong Mansion present became solemn, gaining a new understanding of the strength of Ku Mi, the expert from Qingyun Mansion, who had departed. Ku Mi's strength was far superior to theirs. Next was the session for reporting gains. Except for Duan Lingtian, who intended to keep his gains secret, everyone else reported what they had obtained. The number of divine abilities obtained and their grade would affect their status in Xiankong Mansion in the future. Those who obtained higher-grade divine abilities would naturally receive preferential cultivation from Xiankong Mansion. High-grade divine ability? When it was Wang Feishuan's turn to report, she revealed that she had obtained the advanced movement divine ability, Thousand Illusions Charming Shadow, which surprised everyone present. Everyone's gazes converged on Wang Feishuan, making her the focus of attention for the entire audience. High-grade divine ability. Wang Feishuan was the first person so far to claim she had obtained a high-grade divine ability. Thousand Illusions. In the history of our Xiankong mansion, a predecessor had obtained it as well. However, because he was male, he did not succeed in mastering this divine ability. But according to the notes he left behind, if a female disciple obtained this divine ability, there is a high chance of mastering it. At this moment, the Hall Master of the Yellow Hall, Qian Pingsheng, spoke up. For a moment, the high-ranking members of the Xiankong mansion stared intently at Wang Feishuan. Wang Feishuan was a female martial artist. Did that not mean she had a high chance of mastering that high-grade divine ability in the future? Senior Brother Zhu, how about you leave this girl from the Wang family to our Yellow Hall? Soon, Qian Pingsheng looked at Zhu Luqi and began to poach. I intend to take her as my personal disciple. Junior Brother Qian, you are too late, because I have already decided to take this girl as my personal disciple. Knowing that Wang Feishuan had obtained the high-grade movement divine ability, Thousand Illusions, Zhu Luqi naturally could not let her go to the Yellow Hall. Therefore, after hearing Qian Pingsheng's words, he immediately made his stance clear that he wanted to take Wang Feishuan as his personal disciple. Hearing Zhu Luqi's words, Wang Feishuan's eyes lit up. She had revealed that she had obtained a high-grade divine ability precisely so she could receive better cultivation from the Xiankong mansion. Now that the Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall wanted to take her as his personal disciple, her goal had been achieved. The Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall was the head of the Vice Mansion Masters of the Xiankong mansion. His strength and status within the Xiankong mansion were second only to the Mansion Master of Xiankong mansion and the two protectors. Being able to become his personal disciple, Wang Feishuan was naturally happy. How about it? Girl, are you willing to take me as your master? Zhu Luqi ignored the bitter expression on Qian Pingsheng's face and immediately looked at Wang Feishuan, asking with a smile. Greetings, master. In full view of everyone, Wang Feishuan knelt in midair and kowtowed 3 times to Zhu Luqi, completing the apprenticeship ceremony. Ha! Seeing this, Zhu Luqi laughed heartily, very happy. Congratulations, Senior Brother Zhu. Congratulations, Hall Master. At the same time, everyone present offered their congratulations to Zhu Luqi, including Qian Pingsheng, the Hall Master of the Yellow Hall. Although he was bleeding inside, seeing that things had come to this, he had no choice but to accept his fate. In fact, it was not just Qian Pingsheng, the Hall Master of the Yellow Hall, who was bleeding inside. Among the Vice Mansion Masters of the Xiankong mansion present, apart from Zhao Deng, everyone else was also bleeding inside. Who wouldn't want an outstanding disciple who had obtained a high-grade divine ability? However, among the high-ranking members of the Xiankong mansion present, perhaps only the mansion master Meng Qing could compete with Zhu Luqi, the Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall. Therefore, when Zhu Luqi said he wanted to take Wang Feishuan as his personal disciple, they tacitly did not intervene because they knew it would be useless even if they did. Congratulations. Duan Lingtian looked at Wang Feishuan and promptly sent a voice transmission to congratulate her. That day after I was eliminated, did you defeat that white-clothed sword cultivator? Wang Feishuan asked via voice transmission. That day, she had been killed by the guardian of the final level of that high-grade divine ability relic. The strength of that guardian was beyond her imagination. Even she was not sure whether Duan Lingtian had passed the test of that level. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. I luckily defeated him. In that case, you also obtained a high-grade divine ability? Wang Feishuan asked. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded, then added. However, regarding this matter, I hope I help you keep it a secret, right? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Before Duan Lingtian could finish, Wang Feishuan understandingly interrupted Duan Lingtian's words and promised solemnly, "You will leave the Xiankong mansion in the future to go to the upper domain to find your master. If they know you have obtained a high-grade divine ability, they might not let you go." "Thank you." Faced with Wang Feishuan's understanding, Duan Lingtian felt a warmth in his heart and thanked her via voice transmission. "What are you thanking me for? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to obtain 1,000 illusions." Wang Feishuan rolled her eyes at Duan Lingtian, then added, "So, these two things are even between us. However, I helped you repay the favor of Lu Jian's elder, but the favor you owe me cannot be considered repaid." Hearing Wang Feishuan's words, Duan Lingtian was dumbfounded. Was that favor not already considered repaid? Now, Duan Lingtian even wanted to reveal that he had obtained a high-grade divine ability. That way, he wouldn't owe Wang Feishuan a favor anymore. However, in the end, he didn't say it. Duan Lingtian's strength was undoubtedly the strongest among the group who entered the sacred martial secret realm, and everyone present was quite looking forward to the divine ability he had obtained. However, sometimes, the higher the expectation, the greater the disappointment. An intermediate divine ability? When they learned that Duan Lingtian had only obtained an intermediate divine ability, along with a few other low-grade divine abilities, most of the high-ranking members of the Xiankong mansion, including the mansion master Meng Qing, were somewhat disappointed. Only those from the Zhao family lineage were gloating. "You? How could you not have obtained a high-grade divine ability? With your strength, the tests of general high-grade divine ability relics should not have stumped you." The hall master of the Yellow Hall, Qin Pingsheng, looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise, finding it somewhat unbelievable. "I only encountered 2 high-grade divine ability relics." Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, "The first was that first divine ability relic. The second was the divine ability relic that recorded 1,000 illusions." "So, you let 1,000 illusions go to the girl Feishuan?" The hall master of the Heavenly Hall, Zhu Luqi, looked at Duan Lingtian with a hint of admiration, feeling that Duan Lingtian knew how to make trade-offs. The divine ability, 1,000 illusions, was much harder for male martial cultivators to master compared to female martial cultivators. Giving it to a female was the most correct choice. Actually, it doesn't count as. Just as Duan Lingtian wanted to say that it didn't really count as him letting Wang Feishuan have it, Wang Feishuan timely interrupted his words. "Yes, master. It was he who let me have it. If he hadn't helped, I would never have been able to obtain that divine ability." Immediately, apart from Zhao Deng, the high-ranking members of the Xiankong mansion present, including the mansion master Meng Qing, looked at Duan Lingtian with a bit more admiration. Their thoughts were the same as Zhu Luqi's, all feeling that Duan Lingtian had made the most correct choice. Giving up a high-grade divine ability is not something everyone can do. "Lingtian, you are very good," a vice mansion master of the Xiankong mansion praised. "Yes. In the future, if our Xiankong mansion obtains the legacy of the high-grade divine ability, 1,000 illusions, your contribution will be significant. By then, your name will surely be added to the history of our Xiankong mansion, leaving a name for posterity." Another vice mansion master of the Xiankong mansion also said. As the Xiankong mansion disciples revealed their gains, of the 30 people who entered the sacred martial secret realm, only Wang Feishuan had obtained a high-grade divine ability. Of course, this was on the premise that Duan Lingtian concealed his own gains. In addition, among the 30 people who entered the sacred martial secret realm, only Lu Jian, who was below the middle saint realm in cultivation, had obtained an intermediate divine ability. For a time, the peak minor saint realm disciples present all looked at Lu Jian with envy and jealousy. Except for Zhao Ji, who was eliminated by Duan Lingtian early on, among the mid-stage middle saint realm martial cultivators who entered the sacred martial secret realm, besides Wang Feishuan, 2 others had obtained intermediate divine abilities. Only Gao Peng, like Zhao Ji, had not obtained an intermediate divine ability. Of course, he was slightly better than Zhao Ji, having obtained 3 low-grade divine abilities. There were actually a few others at the early stage of the Middle Saint Realm who had obtained intermediate divine abilities. This result also made the faces of Gao Peng and Zhao Ji very ugly. Regardless, this trip to the sacred martial secret realm had some happy and some sad. And Duan Lingtian was naturally happy. Until the mansion master of the Xian Kong mansion, Meng Qing, gave the order to disperse, he did not show any intention of taking Duan Lingtian as his disciple. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the news spread through others some time ago also made the mansion master of the Xian Kong mansion give up the idea of taking me as his disciple. This is also good. Anyway, I won't be staying in the Xian Kong mansion for long. However, if I can master the lesser devouring art and immortal flying from beyond the heavens in the future, I must find an opportunity to pass them on to the Xian Kong mansion disciples. Duan Lingtian said silently in his heart. Senior brother Lingtian, thank you. Duan Lingtian was leaving with Gu Li and Wang Feishuan. Before the three of them had walked far, Lu Jin chased after them and thanked Duan Lingtian respectfully. If it weren't for Duan Lingtian's face, Wang Feishuan would not have been able to help him obtain an intermediate divine ability. No need to thank me. If you want to thank someone, go thank Elder Lu Hongwang of your Hongtao mansion. In addition, please tell Elder Lu Hongwang that Li Feng did not intend to stand him up that day, but just happened to have something to attend to. Duan Lingtian said. I will definitely pass the message. Lu Jin nodded hurriedly, then said goodbye and left, no longer disturbing Duan Lingtian. Junior brother Lingtian, your luck is really not very good. Although you encountered 2 high-grade divine ability relics, one was impossible to clear, and as for the other one, the divine ability recorded inside was not suitable for male martial cultivators. On the way, Guli looked at Duan Lingtian and sighed. If it is destined to be yours, you will eventually have it. If it is not destined, do not force it. Faced with Guli's sigh, Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. This sentence, heard by Guli, made him feel that Duan Lingtian was resigning himself to fate, but heard by Wang Feishuan, it had another meaning, because she knew that Duan Lingtian had obtained a sword-type high-grade attack divine ability. Boom! Suddenly, a loud noise came from the horizon, startling Duan Lingtian and the other 2 to stop in their tracks. Immediately after, a sinister voice was transmitted at the right moment, spreading throughout the entire Xian Kong mansion. I am the deputy leader of the Yinshan Black Market, Feng Bai. I am passing through the Xian Kong mansion on this trip and want to meet the #1 person of the younger generation of the Xian Kong mansion, Lingtian. Little brother Lingtian, please come out for a meeting. Deputy leader of the Yinshan Black Market, Feng Bai. Suddenly, the entire Xian Kong mansion was in an uproar. Looking for me? When Gu Li and Wang Feishuan's gazes swept over, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be stunned. It's actually Feng Bai, the deputy leader of the Yinshan Black Market. He's a capable right-hand man under the Yinshan Black Market leader. It's said his strength is so formidable, it might even be on par with our Xian Kong mansion's 2 protectors. Feng Bai's voice, undisguised, spread throughout the entire Xian Kong mansion. Almost every Xian Kong mansion disciple who wasn't in secluded cultivation heard his words. He's here for Lingtian? It seems Lingtian's talent has already alarmed the Yinshan Black Market. Even Feng Bai, the deputy leader of the Yinshan Black Market, has come personally to poach him. Lingtian hasn't formally taken a master within our Xian Kong mansion yet. If Feng Bai manages to poach him, it would be a significant loss for our Xian Kong mansion. It's said that once Lingtian breaks through to the Great Saint Realm, he will go to the upper domain. He's already a peak Middle Saint Realm martial cultivator now. One more step, and he'll be at the Great Saint Realm. Perhaps that's precisely why the mansion master, who originally intended to take him as a disciple, hasn't taken action. Indeed, with Lingtian's talent, he will definitely break through to the Great Saint Realm within a year or 2. He won't stay in our Xian Kong mansion for long. Feng Bai, the deputy leader of the Yinshan Black Market, has probably come in vain this time. If I were Lingtian, I definitely wouldn't go to the Yinshan Black Market. Since I'll be heading to the upper domain soon, there's no need to run back and forth. A group of Xiankong Mansion disciples were discussing animatedly. No one believed Feng Bai could successfully poach Duan Lingtian to the Yinshan black market. The appearance of Feng Bai, the deputy leader of the Yinshan black market, naturally alarmed the higher-ups of Xiankong Mansion. Apart from the mansion master of Xiankong Mansion, Meng Qing, the other vice mansion masters of Xiankong Mansion, who had just dispersed and hadn't yet returned to their respective cultivation places, all soared into the air, rushing towards the source of the voice. Deputy Leader Feng. With Meng Qing absent, the group of Xiankong Mansion vice mansion masters naturally looked to Zhu Luqi, who also held the position of Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall, as their leader. Zhu Luqi stood not far from Feng Bai and greeted him with a faint tone. Feng Bai was an old man dressed in black robes, of medium and sturdy build, with an ordinary face, the kind you'd lose in a crowd. Feng Bai's gray-white hair moved without wind, like slithering pythons, giving off a sinister feeling. Humph. In response to Zhu Luqi's proactive greeting, Feng Bai merely snorted faintly, not even glancing at Zhu Luqi properly from start to finish. I've come to Xiankong Mansion for Brother Lingtian. Idle bystanders, stop chattering in front of me. You? How dare you? Faced with Feng Bai's disregard, Zhu Luqi's face flushed red. He stammered you for a while before managing to spit out 2 more words. How dare I? Hearing Zhu Luqi's words, Feng Bai sneered coldly. Immediately after, without any visible movement, he vanished from his spot in an instant, as if disappearing into thin air. Seeing this, the Xiankong Mansion higher-ups, including Zhu Luqi, all changed their expressions. Slap. Almost simultaneously, a crisp slapping sound rang out. Feng Bai, who had somehow appeared in front of Zhu Luqi, raised his hand and slapped Zhu Luqi across the face. What do you think you are, to speak to me like that? At the same time, Feng Bai's sinister voice sounded appropriately. Zhu Luqi, the dignified hall master of the heavenly hall of Xiankong Mansion, the foremost among the Xiankong Mansion vice mansion masters, slapped publicly, naturally flew into a rage. He immediately attacked like thunder, a massive palm print formed from vast power enveloping Feng Bai, who stood before him. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Facing Zhu Luqi's attack, Feng Bai's expression didn't change. He spoke disdainfully while also striking out with a palm, meeting Zhu Luqi's blow. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. In that instant, 2 palms collided, 2 powerful forces crashing together, producing an earth-shattering roar. It even caused the surrounding mist to scatter, creating a vacuum area. For a moment, those originally hidden behind the mist also appeared before the eyes of the Xiankong Mansion disciples below. After a direct, forceful palm exchange, Zhu Luqi's expression changed drastically. Then, his body trembled and shot out like an arrow from a bow, flying nearly 100 meters before barely managing to halt his momentum. In contrast, Feng Bai stood firmly in place, not moving an inch. He's actually this strong. Zhu Luqi, his internal organs shaken, felt a sweet taste in his throat. But he endured and didn't spit out the congested blood. His dignity, his pride, made him unwilling to spit out that blood in front of so many people. Seeing this, the other vice mansion masters of Xiankong Mansion couldn't help but feel chills rise within them. Their strength was somewhat weaker than Zhu Luqi's. If even Zhu Luqi wasn't a match for Feng Bai in a single exchange, how much less were they? Therefore, witnessing Zhu Luqi injured, although angry, they didn't dare show it. This Feng Bai, as the deputy leader of the Yinshan black market, was temperamental and capable of anything. They were all unwilling to provoke him, fearing they might follow in Zhu Luqi's footsteps. In your Xiankong Mansion, only mansion master Meng Qing and those 2 old fellows have decent strength. To put it bluntly, apart from those 3, including the rest of you, I, Feng Bai, truly don't take you seriously. Feng Bai swept a disdainful glance over Zhu Luqi and the others, saying lightly, All right, my purpose in coming here isn't to teach you a lesson. Go call out that genius Ling Tian from your Xiankong mansion. I have business with him. By the end, Feng Bai sounded more like he was giving orders to Zhu Luqi and the others. For a moment, apart from Zhu Luqi ignoring him, the other vice mansion masters of Xiankong Mansion exchanged glances but remained silent for a long while. What? None of you are willing to run this errand for me? Seeing this, Feng Bai narrowed his eyes. A cold glint flashed through them, frightening the vice mansion masters, who all changed their expressions. There's no need to trouble the vice mansion masters. I'm already here. Just as the atmosphere grew tense and on the verge of erupting, a voice came through. It was Duan Lingtian, stepping through the air from a distance. By his side were also Gu Li and Wang Feishuan. Master, are you all right? Wang Feishuan was the first to reach Zhu Luqi's side, asking with a concerned expression. I'm fine. Zhu Luqi shook his head. When he looked at Feng Bai again, his gaze was filled with killing intent. This Feng Bai actually dared to humiliate him like that in front of his newly accepted personal disciple, making him lose all face. Having lived to Zhu Luqi's age, the importance of face surpassed everything else. Feng Bai's actions just now were more unbearable to him than death itself. However, Feng Bai at this moment didn't even glance at Zhu Luqi, completely ignoring him. His gaze fell on Duan Lingtian. A glint flashed in his eyes as he spoke in a condescending tone. So you're the number one among the younger generation of Xiankong Mansion, Lingtian? I dare not claim to be the number one among the younger generation of Xiankong Mansion, but I am indeed Lingtian. Duan Lingtian responded lightly. The strength Feng Bai displayed earlier surprised even him. He hadn't expected the deputy leader of the Yinshan black market to be so powerful. However, when facing Feng Bai, his heart remained exceptionally calm. Although Feng Bai was strong, he was nothing compared to Elder Hua inside the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda. Elder Hua was in existence considered a powerhouse even across the myriad heavens plane. Since Duan Lingtian could remain composed even in front of Elder Hua, how much more so when facing a mere deputy leader of a top force in the Dao Wu's sacred land lower domain. From start to finish, he felt no pressure whatsoever. Lingtian, I won't waste words. I came this time under the orders of our Yinshan black market leader, Lord Dugu. Lord Dugu intends to invite you to join our Yinshan black market. If you can demonstrate your worth, Lord Dugu is even willing to take you as his personal disciple. Seeing Duan Lingtian remain composed in his presence, a hint of appreciation also flashed in Feng Bai's eyes. Hearing Feng Bai's words, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be taken aback. The Yinshan black market leader? Intends to invite him to join the Yinshan black market? Since when was he so sought after? Zhu Luqi and the others were also shocked. So, after all that, Feng Bai was just a messenger. The one who truly wanted to poach from their Xiankong mansion was actually the leader of the Yinshan black market. The Yinshan black market leader, Dugu, was one of the publicly acknowledged strongest in the Dao Wu sacred land lower domain. The other strongest in the Dao Wu sacred land lower domain was the mansion master of Qingyun Mansion, Duan Rufeng. Most importantly, like Duan Rufeng, Dugu wasn't considered old. They had ample room for development in the future. In the Dao Wu sacred land lower domain, they were merely passers-by. With their talent, they were bound to go to the Dao martial sacred land upper domain sooner or later to shine brilliantly. However, although the Yinshan black market leader Dugu was young, his deterrence over Zhu Luqi and the others was extremely strong. Therefore, when Feng Bai said he came under Dugu's orders, Zhu Luqi and the others tacitly remained silent. If they offended that leader Dugu, even if they were within Xiankong Mansion, even with the protection of the mansion master of Xiankong Mansion, Meng Qing, if he wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as taking something from a bag. That leader Dugu's strength originally surpassed their mansion master of Xiankong Mansion. Moreover, as the leader of the Yinshan black market, he excelled in assassination techniques. Killing them would be as simple as crushing ants. Deputy Leader Feng, my apologies. Please convey to Lord Dugu on my behalf that I have no intention of transferring to the Inshan black market, as I won't be staying in Xiankong Mansion for much longer either. Furthermore, I already have a master. In less than 2 years, or at most 3, I will leave the lower domain and go to the upper domain to find my master. Faced with Feng Bai's invitation on orders, Duan Lingtian politely declined. Even Feng Bai hadn't expected this young man before him to refuse so straightforwardly. He had clearly stated he came under the orders of their Inshan black market leader, Lord Dugu. Didn't this kid fear angering their Inshan black market and inviting a fatal disaster? As for what Duan Lingtian said later, Feng Bai didn't doubt it. Because over the past 2 months, he had already gathered quite a bit of information about Duan Lingtian from other Xiankong Mansion disciples. He also knew Duan Lingtian had a master who was a powerhouse from the upper domain, the once famous Li Feng, who was also his senior brother. Upon learning that the young man's master was a powerhouse from the upper domain, even Feng Bai, the deputy leader of the Inshan black market, had to proceed with caution. He was mentally prepared for the scene before him, so he wasn't surprised. Since this Ling Tian will leave Xiankong Mansion and the lower domain within 3 years, then he poses no threat to our Inshan black market. With this thought, Feng Bai gave Duan Lingtian a faint glance and left immediately. According to the previous orders from the leader of the Inshan black market, if this Ling Tian was unwilling to join them, he was to be eliminated to prevent any future trouble. But now, the situation had changed, and he didn't dare to make the decision himself. After all, behind this Ling Tian, there was suspected to be a master who was a powerhouse from the upper domain. Therefore, whether to kill or spare Ling Tian would only be decided after he reported this series of events to the leader of the Inshan black market. Seeing Feng Bai leave like that, except for the hall master of the heavenly hall, Zhu Luqi, whose expression remained unsightly, the other vice mansion masters of Xiankong Mansion breathed a sigh of relief and dispersed one after another, returning to their respective cultivation grounds. Before Zhao Deng left, he cast a sidelong glance at Duan Lingtian, his eyes filled with killing intent. Junior brother Lingtian, you've offended the Zhao family lineage, so you must be careful in the future. If there's nothing important, try not to go out. Even if you must, let me know, and I'll go with you. With me around, I doubt they'd dare to move against you so blatantly. Gu Li noticed Zhao Deng's gaze and immediately warned Duan Lingtian, while also telling him to remember to bring him along when going out. Hearing Gu Li's words, Duan Lingtian felt a warmth in his heart. Although he and Gu Li hadn't known each other for long, they had become close friends who could share their thoughts because their personalities clicked. The appearance of Feng Bai, the deputy leader of the Inshan black market, was merely a small interlude after the closing of the sacred martial secret realm. The attention of the group of Xiankong Mansion disciples was quickly diverted. Within the Xiankong Mansion, news about the gains of the 30 people who entered the sacred martial secret realm began to spread wildly. In particular, Wang Feishuan, the only one to obtain a high-grade divine ability, drew a massive amount of attention. I really didn't expect Wang Feishuan to get a high-grade divine ability. Instead, Ling Tian, whom I was most optimistic about, didn't get one. Many Xiankong Mansion disciples lamented. In their eyes, Wang Feishuan was like a dark horse who had suddenly emerged. Moreover, she had become a disciple under the Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall, making her future achievements limitless. After parting with Gu Li and returning to his residence, Duan Lingtian didn't see Wang Feishuan for several consecutive days. She didn't come to find him as frequently as she used to. It seems she's quite busy during this period. Duan Lingtian wasn't surprised by this. After all, Wang Feishuan was no longer what she used to be. Not only had she obtained the high-grade divine ability, Thousand Illusions Phantom, but she had also become a disciple under the Hall Master of the Heavenly Hall. However, it's strange to say, when she used to come looking for me, I found it annoying. Now that she doesn't come, I'm actually a bit unaccustomed to it. Duan Lingtian shook his head and went back to his room, preparing to go into closed-door cultivation for a while. He had rested enough these past few days. Once I finish this closed-door cultivation, I'll go find senior brother Gu Li and ask him to help find the materials to repair the 4th layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. By then, they should have resolved the matter with Chongshao Mansion. The reason he hadn't mentioned this to Gu Li earlier was that he knew Gu Li had to go to Chongshao Mansion with Protector Gu. At that time, even Vice Mansion Master Zhao Deng and his father, another protector of Xiankong Mansion, would also be going. Even the Mansion Master, Meng Qing, would personally set out. They weren't going to Chongshao Mansion as guests, but for the top-tier demonic path cultivation technique in the hands of the young Mansion Master of Chongshao Mansion, Su Jing, which recorded the soul-gathering method. I was originally thinking of waiting for Su Jing to recover before killing him myself to eliminate future trouble. Now it seems he won't live until then. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. He didn't believe Su Jing could survive. Once Xiankong Mansion obtained that demonic path cultivation technique from Su Jing, he would lose his value, and there was absolutely no way he would be allowed to live. As for whether Xiankong Mansion could succeed, he never even considered that question. With Mansion Master Meng Qing personally taking action, if they couldn't even take down a mere 4th-rate force, then Xiankong Mansion would be unworthy of being called a quasi-3rd-rate force. Perhaps Xiankong Mansion was inferior to the Yinshan Black Market and Qingyan Mansion, but it was not something a mere 4th-rate force could compare to. Elder Hua. After closing the door and entering the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda, Duan Lingtian immediately found Elder Hua to ask about the level of the divine ability Golden Crow Wings. What level is the Golden Crow Wings you passed to me? How does it compare to the divine abilities of this world? Currently, besides the divine ability Golden Crow Wings, he had also obtained quite a few other divine abilities. Of course, most were low-grade, and only 3 were not. The 3 divine abilities were the intermediate divine ability Diamond Golden Body and the high-grade divine abilities Lesser Devouring Art and Immortal Flying from Beyond the Heavens. Among these 3 divine abilities, the Lesser Devouring Art was naturally the strongest. Next was Immortal Flying from Beyond the Heavens, followed by Diamond Golden Body. To compare it with the divine abilities of this world, I must first understand the divine abilities here before I can make a comparison. Elder Hua said. Duan Lingtian nodded and intended to describe the 2 divine abilities, Lesser Devouring Art and Immortal Flying from Beyond the Heavens. However, just as he mentioned the name of the Lesser Devouring Art, Elder Hua couldn't help but stare and interrupt him. Are you sure the divine ability you obtained is the Lesser Devouring Art? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded, not knowing why Elder Hua had lost his composure like this. Could something be wrong? Describe the Lesser Devouring Art divine ability you obtained. Elder Hua took a deep breath and asked slowly. Temporarily suppressing his curiosity, Duan Lingtian described the abilities and characteristics of the divine ability Lesser Devouring Art as he understood them, one by one, without leaving anything out. It really is the Lesser Devouring Art. After listening to Duan Lingtian's description, Elder Hua was silent for a while before his eyes suddenly lit up, giving Duan Lingtian a start. Elder Hua, from the sound of it, you seem to know this Lesser Devouring Art too? This Lesser Devouring Art is an extraordinary divine ability. Elder Hua looked at Duan Lingtian and said bluntly, although in terms of grade, it's inferior to the Golden Crow Wings I passed to you. The Golden Crow Wings with a higher grade is the one mastered by our Golden Crow clan. The Golden Crow Wings you can master is, at most, on par with it in terms of grade. On par? Although Elder Hua was talking about the divine ability Golden Crow Wings that he could master, Duan Lingtian was still shocked. Even if he wasn't of the 3-legged Golden Crow clan and couldn't display its full power, the Golden Crow Wings was still a divine ability belonging to the myriad heavens plane, far beyond what any divine ability of the mortal plane could compare to. And now, he learned that the Lesser Devouring Art he had obtained was actually not inferior to his Golden Crow Wings in terms of grade. How could he not be surprised? How did you obtain the Lesser Devouring Art? Elder Hua stared intensely at Duan Lingtian and asked curiously. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian immediately told him about the bottomless swamp and his experiences within it. I really didn't expect this mortal plane to have the legacy of the lesser devouring art. Even in the myriad heavens plane, this lesser devouring art is an extremely remarkable divine ability. And those who have mastered it across the myriad heavens plane are few and far between. Elder Hu lamented. What? Although he already knew the lesser devouring art was extraordinary, hearing Elder Hu say this still made Duan Lingtian jump in surprise. The lesser devouring art is actually a remarkable divine ability even in the myriad heavens plane. Elder Hu nodded. The lesser devouring art is a very famous divine ability even in the myriad heavens plane. Of course, besides its incredible power, more importantly, it's the foundation for the great devouring art. To cultivate and even master the great devouring art, one must first master it. Great devouring art. Duan Lingtian was dumbfounded. There's also a great devouring art. Naturally. Elder Hu nodded again, a hint of respect involuntarily showing in his eyes. The great devouring art is a top-tier divine ability of the myriad heavens plane. The owner of that divine ability is the overlord of a myriad heavens plane. And that powerhouse's strength can be ranked in the top 3 among all the overlords of the myriad heavens planes. Hiss. As soon as Elder Hu finished speaking, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The great devouring art, a top-tier divine ability of the myriad heavens plane? The owner of the great devouring art was the overlord of a myriad heavens plane? And their strength ranked in the top 3 among all the overlords of the myriad heavens planes? Although the amount of information Duan Lingtian had to process wasn't much, every piece of it was full of shock and explosive impact for him. And according to rumors, the lesser devouring art was derived from the great devouring art, and the one who created the lesser devouring art was also that same powerhouse. When mentioning that powerhouse, even Elder Hu couldn't help but show solemn respect. I really didn't expect the lesser devouring art I obtained would have such an amazing background. Duan Lingtian lamented. However, the reason I was able to obtain the lesser devouring art was thanks to this solar true essence. For this, I have Elder Hu to thank. If Elder Hu hadn't performed the empowerment for me back then and helped me birth the solar true essence, I never would have been able to pass the trials of the bottomless swamp and obtain the divine ability lesser devouring art. Duan Lingtian looked at Elder Hu with a face full of gratitude. The trial stages of the bottomless swamp were manageable in the beginning. As long as one was at the Great Saint Realm or above, they should be able to pass. But for the final stage, let alone those at the Great Saint Realm or above, even those at the Human Saint Realm, Earth Saint Realm, or Heavenly Saint Realm might not necessarily pass. This was because the cultivation level of the guardian of that stage would be maintained at the same level as the challenger. Even now, Duan Lingtian still couldn't help but feel a lingering fear when he recalled the strength displayed by the old man at the last checkpoint of the abyssal swamp, who was only in the initial stage of the Middle Saint Realm. Even a typical martial artist, even if their cultivation had reached the peak of the Middle Saint Realm, would not be a match for that old man. Therefore, in his opinion, the solar true essence bestowed upon him by Elder Hu was the primary reason he was able to pass the final trial of the abyssal swamp and obtain the divine ability minor devouring art. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Elder Hu merely smiled faintly. Your acquisition of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda and meeting me was your destiny. Your inheritance from Sword Saint Feng Qingyang was also your destiny. This time, your acquisition of the minor devouring art is still your destiny. Ultimately, your ability to obtain the minor devouring art has little to do with the solar true essence. It is all due to your destiny. Even Elder Hu couldn't help but sigh with emotion when considering Duan Lingtian's destiny. Back then, even among the people he knew across the various planes of the heavens, few could compare to Duan Lingtian in terms of destiny. Of course, Elder Hu did not proactively mention these things to Duan Lingtian. In his opinion, even if he told Duan Lingtian these words, it would be more harmful than beneficial to Duan Ling Tian. If Duan Ling Tian could face his destiny squarely, that would be fine, but if not, he might become complacent due to his destiny, and in the end, even with a solid foundation of destiny, he would not achieve much. Destiny is a person's luck, but one cannot over-rely on it. Elder Hua had lived for so many years and had seen many similar tragedies, so he naturally did not want Duan Ling Tian to repeat the same mistakes. Hearing Elder Hua's words, Duan Ling Tian fell silent. Thinking back on his journey, his luck had indeed been quite good. Of course, as someone whose soul had transmigrated from another world, Duan Ling Tian was not complacent because of these opportunities. In his opinion, his soul transmigrating from Earth to this world was the greatest opportunity of his life. Otherwise, he would have died long ago, let alone obtained subsequent opportunities. In this regard, Duan Ling Tian had a very good mindset. Of course, Elder Hua was unaware of all this, which was why he didn't dare to tell Duan Ling Tian some of his true thoughts. Elder Hua, in a while, I will begin to search for the materials to repair the 4th level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. After greeting Elder Hua, Duan Ling Tian went into seclusion to cultivate in the 3rd level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. By the time he emerged from seclusion next, Guli should have returned from the Soaring Dragon Mansion. During his secluded cultivation, Duan Ling Tian primarily focused on improving his cultivation and further comprehending the mysteries of the Supreme Sword Dao Heart Method, Unsurpassed Heart Sword. Currently, he had only comprehended the 2nd realm of the Unsurpassed Heart Sword, Sword Shadow Follows Heart, but the Unsurpassed Heart Sword has a total of 5 major realms. In the future, he still had a very long road ahead of him. While Duan Ling Tian was cultivating, in the distant territory of the Soaring Dragon Mansion, the 4th-rate force, Soaring Dragon Mansion, also faced a devastating catastrophe. The Soaring Dragon Mansion was originally peaceful until their mansion master was killed by a mysterious powerful expert, which then caused a huge commotion. The Soaring Dragon Mansion master was the strongest expert in the Soaring Dragon Mansion. Looking across the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the number of experts who could kill him without alarming others was very few. Therefore, when the high-ranking officials and disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mansion discovered that their mansion master had been killed, they were all completely panicked. Immediately after, several other high-ranking officials of the Soaring Dragon Mansion were also killed. In the end, almost all of the high-ranking officials of the Soaring Dragon Mansion were massacred, and even some outstanding disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mansion were killed. All those from the Soaring Dragon Mansion who were killed had one thing in common. They all knew that Su Jing, the young mansion master of their Soaring Dragon Mansion, had obtained a top-tier demonic cultivation method that contained soul-gathering techniques. However, even until their deaths, they never imagined that the group of wolf-like powerful experts would come for the cultivation method practiced by Su Jing, the young mansion master of their Soaring Dragon Mansion. The ones who acted were none other than the high-ranking officials of the Profound Sky Mansion. Among the people from the Profound Sky Mansion, the weakest was Guli. Of course, Guli was just there to join in the fun. He stayed by his father, Gu Xiai Yun's side, and never even had a chance to make a move from beginning to end. Aside from Guli, the weakest among the rest of the Profound Sky Mansion members were all at the level of Vice Mansion Masters. It was precisely because of this that they were able to wipe out the core strength of the Soaring Dragon Mansion in one fell swoop, before most of the people in the Soaring Dragon Mansion even had a chance to react. Is everything cleaned up? Above the Soaring Dragon Mansion stronghold, a group of people swept in from all directions and gathered together. They were the high-ranking officials of the Profound Sky Mansion, and the one speaking now was none other than the Profound Sky Mansion Master, Meng Qing. Mansion Master, the east side has been cleaned up. Gu Xiai Yun, who was standing with Gu Li, said. The west side has also been cleaned up. The old man standing with Zhao Deng said. This old man was Zhao Deng's father and another protector of the Profound Sky Mansion. Throughout the entire Profound Sky Mansion, in terms of strength, he and Gu Xiai Yun were comparable, second only to Meng Qing. Lord Mansion Master, the south side has been cleared. The four hall masters of the profound sky mansion, led by Zhu Luqi, the hall master of the heavenly hall, had also arrived. Zhu Luqi respectfully reported to Meng Qing. As for the other vice mansion masters, they followed by Meng Qing's side, responsible for the northern part of the Soaring Dragon Mansion's stronghold and clearing out any stragglers. After all, this matter had to be kept secret. This concerned a top-tier demonic cultivation method, and even the Een Mountain Black Market and the Azure Cloud Mansion would be tempted by it. Very good. Meng Qing nodded in satisfaction. That young mansion master of the Soaring Dragon Mansion, Su Jing, has already been transferred by me to a secret location. Since what needed to be cleaned up has been cleaned up, we can also return. However, looking at Su Jing's condition, if we use this soul-searching secret art now, his soul, which hasn't recovered much, probably won't be able to withstand it. So, we still need to take him back and imprison him for a period of time first. Meng Qing added. He used the soul-gathering technique last time, and his soul was scattered. It will take at least a few years for it to fully recover. And to use the soul-searching secret art on him, we need to wait for his soul to recover for another year and a half. Otherwise, in his current state, his soul might completely dissipate before the entire demonic cultivation method can be extracted from it. Gu Xiaoyan nodded. Then let's wait another year and a half. I hope the demonic cultivation method he obtained isn't one of those utterly ruthless ones. If so, with that cultivation method, our profound sky mansion status in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land will undoubtedly rise to a new level. Zhao Jin, the other protector of the profound sky mansion, the old man beside Zhao Deng, his eyes flashed, and by the end, his voice was somewhat agitated. And as soon as he spoke, even Meng Qing, the mansion master of the profound sky mansion, was somewhat flustered, let alone the others. In the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the profound sky mansion was one of the quasi-third-rate forces. In the eyes of ordinary people, the profound sky mansion was one of the top forces in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land. However, only those who stood at the upper echelons of the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land knew that although the profound sky mansion was a quasi-third-rate force, it was still quite inferior compared to the Een Mountain Black Market and the Azure Cloud Mansion, which were also quasi-third-rate forces. Lord Mansion Master. Just then, Qian Pingsheng, the hall master of the Yellow Hall, spoke with some hesitation, breaking the good atmosphere on the scene. Immediately, most people, including Meng Qing, turned their gaze to Qian Pingsheng. What is it? Meng Qing was puzzled. There might be a loose end. Qian Pingsheng said with a bitter smile. Loose end. As soon as Qian Pingsheng spoke, everyone, including Zhu Luqi, the hall master of the Earth Hall, and the hall master of the Profound Hall, who were with him, couldn't help but change their expressions. Didn't Hall Master Zhu just say it was all cleaned up? Before Meng Qing could speak, Zhao Jin already looked at Qian Pingsheng and asked in a nearly accusatory tone. Junior brother Qian, what's going on? Zhu Luqi looked at Qian Pingsheng, his face also very grim. Qian Pingsheng hadn't mentioned this to him before. Senior brother Zhu, didn't Su Jing have a follower? Didn't we all fail to find that follower? Qian Pingsheng looked at Zhu Luqi and said, Su Jing's hunchback follower? Zhu Luqi's furrowed brows relaxed upon hearing this. He's just a follower of Su Jing. It's impossible for him to know about Su Jing obtaining that demonic cultivation method, right? Moreover, when we were cleaning up, we didn't hear anyone mention that he knew about that cultivation method. Those people were all arrogant. Perhaps they simply didn't pay attention to Su Jing's follower at all. Qian Pingsheng shook his head and said, Originally, I didn't pay much attention to Su Jing's follower either. But the more I thought about it later, the more something felt off. I heard that as early as a year before the Soaring Dragon ranking battle began, Su Jing's follower wasn't in the Soaring Dragon Mansion stronghold. He was suspected of having left with Su Jing. If he left, then... Qian Pingsheng hadn't finished speaking when he was interrupted by Gu Xiaoyan, whose face was grim. There was a soaring dragon mansion disciple in the area I was responsible for who mentioned that Su Jing's follower appeared with Su Jing at the soaring dragon ranking battle site. Later, he even returned with the soaring dragon mansion's grand elder, Su Sin. Aside from that soaring dragon mansion disciple, no one else mentioned him. They probably didn't pay attention to him. After all, his status in the soaring dragon mansion was extremely low and humble. However, if Su Jing's follower was also by his side when Su Jing left, then he definitely knows about that demonic cultivation method. By the end, Gu Xiaoyun's face had completely darkened. On my side, someone also mentioned Su Jing's follower. However, he was on Hall Master Zhu's side, so I didn't ask too much. I originally thought Hall Master Zhu would deal with him, but I didn't expect him to become a loose end. Zhao Jin looked at Zhu Luqi, his face full of reproach. What? Zhu Luqi's face changed dramatically. He never expected that the only loose end would escape from under his watch. Lord Mansion Master, although we don't know if Su Jing's follower knows about the demonic cultivation method, we did look for him, but couldn't find him. He doesn't seem to be in the soaring dragon mansion stronghold, Qian Pingxing said. Qian Pingxing's words were also an attempt to exonerate Zhu Luqi and the other 3 hall masters. Previously, during the search of the Chongxiao Mansion's outpost, he was the only one among their group who specifically sought out Su Jing's attendant, intending to expose him. For this, Zhu Luqi and the other 2 had even advised him to give up if he couldn't find him, saying that an insignificant attendant surely wouldn't know about the demonic cultivation method. Therefore, as soon as Qian Pingxing finished speaking, Zhu Luqi, the Earth Hall Master, and the Heaven Hall Master all looked at him with gratitude. Since Su Jing's attendant wasn't at the Chongxiao Mansion's outpost, it didn't count as him escaping right under their noses, so they weren't to blame. Since he's not at the Chongxiao Mansion's outpost, he certainly doesn't know what happened here. In that case, we'll go find and kill him ourselves to eliminate future troubles. Meng Qing's eyes flashed with a sharp glint as he spoke. Because a fish that slipped through the net was discovered, the planned itinerary for the Xiankong Mansion group was put on hold. No one complained about this. They all wanted to find and kill that fish that slipped through the net to eliminate future troubles. One must know that this matter was no laughing matter. Once the news spread, it would undoubtedly be a huge blow to their Xiankong Mansion. If it was a demonic cultivation method that was utterly wicked, it would be fine, as others wouldn't worry that their Xiankong Mansion would dare to defy the world and cultivate such a method. However, if that demonic cultivation method was a relatively normal one, it would certainly attract the covetous gaze of many. Of course, in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, only quasi-third-rate forces would have the courage to covet the cultivation method obtained by the Xiankong Mansion. Other forces simply wouldn't have that courage. Of course, rather than saying they lacked the courage, it would be more accurate to say they lacked the strength. In the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, other quasi-third-rate forces were negligible, as the Xiankong Mansion didn't fear them. However, the Yinshan Black Market and the Qingyan Mansion were forces the Xiankong Mansion had to be wary of. If those 2 forces came together to demand the demonic cultivation method, they truly wouldn't be able to refuse. Additionally, besides the Yinshan Black Market and the Qingyan Mansion, what the Xiankong Mansion feared even more were the powerful individuals from the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Although strong individuals from the upper domain rarely came to the lower domain, even if only a few came, they could certainly spread the news to the upper domain. A demonic cultivation method containing soul-gathering techniques would tempt even the powerful individuals of the upper domain. For this very reason, the Xiankong Mansion absolutely would not allow any news about the top-tier demonic cultivation method to spread. According to the Chongxiao Mansion maid who knows Su Jing's attendant, if Su Jing isn't at the Chongxiao Mansion's outpost, he should have gone home to visit his family. Soon, the high-ranking officials of the Xiankong Mansion confirmed this news. At the same time, they also found out where Su Jing's attendant's home was, a small town called Camel's Peak Town, 1,000 miles south of the Chongxiao Mansion's outpost. Camel's Peak Town was a very special town, Almost all of its original residents were born with hunchbacks. And Su Jing's hunchbacked attendant was a native resident of Camel's Peak Town, and he was also a martial arts genius known to everyone in Camel's Peak Town. Of course, he was only considered a martial arts genius in the eyes of the people of Camel's Peak Town, because very few important figures had ever emerged from Camel's Peak Town. Are you here to find Rong Fan? Rong Fan is the pride of our Camel's Peak Town, and also the most successful person in our Camel's Peak Town's history. Do you know Chongshao Mansion? It's that fourth-rate force. Rong Fan is working there now. The residents of Camel's Peak Town, hearing that the people from Shinkong Mansion were looking for Rong Fan, were all very enthusiastic. Of course, the people who came forward were not the high-ranking officials of the Shinkong Mansion, but ordinary disciples recruited from nearby Shinkong Mansion outposts. Even if their faces were remembered, no one would recognize them. Elder, I am from Chongshao Mansion. I have an urgent matter to discuss with Rong Fan. Is he in town? A young disciple from the Shinkong Mansion asked an elderly resident of Camel's Peak Town, his face showing a hint of urgency, as if he truly had an urgent matter. Rong Fan came a while ago, and he said he'd be staying at home for a while. His house is on the east side of our Camel's Peak Town. The largest residence is his. The elderly resident of Camel's Peak Town spoke of Rong Fan with a proud expression. And Rong Fan, as someone who worked for the fourth-rate force Chongshao Mansion, had always been the pride of the entire Camel's Peak Town. East side. The few Shinkong Mansion disciples who had arrived in Camel's Peak Town successively learned the location of Rong Fan's home. After giving a signal to the Shinkong Mansion higher-ups hidden in the shadows, they went to Rong Fan's house. Are you disciples of Chongshao Mansion? Rong Fan's parents, after the Shinkong Mansion disciples announced their fake identities, were very enthusiastic and welcomed them inside. Little Fan must have caused you a lot of trouble normally. If he ever did anything wrong in the past, my wife and I apologize to you. Although Rong Fan's parents had cultivation, they were ordinary martial artists. Upon learning that the people in front of them were Chongshao Mansion disciples, they immediately became somewhat flustered. Uncle, Aunt, you don't need to be nervous. We came to find Rong Fan because the mansion master asked us to. The young mansion master has woken up and needs him to attend to him quickly. One of the Shinkong Mansion disciples cleverly said. The young mansion master is awake? Outsiders might have thought the young mansion master of Chongshao Mansion was dead, but as Rong Fan's parents, they naturally knew that the young mansion master their son served was not dead. Only they in the entire Camel's Peak Town knew about this, and Rong Fan had sternly reminded them not to spread the word. Therefore, after hearing the Shinkong Mansion disciples mention this matter, they completely believed that the people in front of them were indeed Chongshao Mansion disciples. Little Fan went out early this morning and will probably only be back in the evening. As for where he went, we don't know. How about you wait at home? Rong Fan's parents suggested. The few Shinkong Mansion disciples exchanged glances, and at the same time, received a reminder from the Shinkong Mansion higher-ups hidden in the dark, then nodded and agreed. He went out. Soon, Meng Qing, the Shinkong Mansion master, and others hiding outside the town also received this news. Quickly seal off the town. Additionally, conduct a carpet search around the town. If you find any town residents, knock them out directly to prevent them from alerting Rong Fan if they encounter him. Meng Qing immediately gave the order. To catch Rong Fan, the plan had to be meticulously detailed. However, Meng Qing still learned the news that Rong Fan was not in Camel's Peak Town too late. Many residents who had left earlier had already gone far away. Although the Shinkong Mansion high-ranking officials conducted a carpet search around, there were still 1 or 2 fish that slipped through the net. Rong Fan. Hundreds of miles from Camel's Peak Town. A resident of Camel's Peak Town with decent cultivation saw Rong Fan and walked towards him with a smile. Rong Hong. Seeing the approaching person, Rong Fan grinned and said, "What? Where are you planning to go?" "I'm going to South Tablet City." "You must have just come from that direction, right?" Rong Hong first answered Rong Fan, then asked with a smile. Rong Fan nodded. "I bought some things for my parents." Hee hee, Rong Fan, you're doing really well. I originally thought that after the Chongshao Mansion young mansion master you followed was killed, your status in Chongshao Mansion would decline day by day. I never expected that people from Chongshao Mansion would personally come to town to find you. Ronghong chuckled. What? But when Rong Fan heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. People from Chongshao Mansion came to find me? Upon hearing this news, Rong Fan's first thought was that it was impossible. In the past, at Chongshao Mansion, although his status wasn't high while he followed the young mansion master, it wasn't low either, and many people below him flattered him. However, ever since the young mansion master's soul dissipated and most people thought he was dead, Rong Fan's life had not been easy. The people who used to flatter him no longer paid him any attention. As for those who knew the young mansion master wasn't dead, they all held considerable status and position in Chongshao Mansion. Even before the young mansion master's incident, they looked down on him and would never come to Camel's Peak Town to find him. Therefore, when Rong Fan heard that someone from Chongshao Mansion had come to Camel's Peak Town to find him, he found it unbelievable. Who were the people who came? Did he say? For some reason, Rong Fan felt a little flustered now, perhaps a little overwhelmed by unexpected favor, or perhaps for some other reason. He didn't say, but it seems there were a total of 5 people, and they were all looking for you. Ronghong said. 5 people. Rong Fan's expression completely changed. 5 people, claiming to be from Chongshao Mansion, all looking for him? At this point, if he still couldn't see that something was amiss, then he had lived all these years in vain. Not to mention that most people now thought the Chongshao Mansion young mansion master was dead. Even if he wasn't, it was impossible for so many Chongshao Mansion disciples to come looking for him together. When things are abnormal, there must be a demon. What? Is something wrong? Seeing Rong Fan's expression change, Ronghong was startled. After he recovered, he couldn't help but ask. Nothing. Rong Fan shook his head, then looked at Ronghong with a solemn expression. Ronghong, don't tell anyone that you saw me today, especially those few people who claim to be from Chongshao Mansion. Remember. You must remember. After speaking, Rong Fan left without looking back. Of course, he didn't go to Camel's Peak Town, but towards the Chongshao Mansion's outpost, because he felt that something was amiss. Upon reaching the vicinity of the Chongshao Mansion's outpost, Rong Fan could sense that the atmosphere there was somewhat off, even from a distance. Although nothing seemed out of the ordinary from the outside, Ronghong's earlier reminder made him feel suspicious. Let's hide and observe first. Hiding outside the Chongshao Mansion's outpost, Rong Fan waited patiently. He needed to confirm some things. After waiting for 3 full days and nights, a strange yet familiar figure appeared in Rong Fan's vision. Isn't that Zhao Ji from Xiankong Mansion? Soon, Rong Fan recognized the other party. Even though Rong Fan was an insignificant person in the Soaring Heaven Mansion, the problem was that the person he had been following before was the young mansion master of the Soaring Heaven Mansion. Because of this, he had a wide range of contacts. About 5 years ago, when he was traveling with Su Jing, the young mansion master of the Soaring Heaven Mansion, he encountered Zhao Ji from the Profound Sky Mansion. According to his young mansion master, Zhao Ji was the #1 person among the 2nd generation of the Profound Sky Mansion. Precisely because of this, he firmly etched Zhao Ji's appearance into his mind. That person was someone even his young mansion master dared not easily provoke. Today, when he first saw Zhao Ji, he didn't recognize him immediately, only feeling a sense of familiarity and strangeness. After recalling for a while, he finally recognized Zhao Ji. As for the 2 people following behind Zhao Ji, he didn't recognize them and had no impression of them. According to what the young mansion master said back then, this Zhao Ji is the only son of Zhao Deng, the vice mansion master of the Profound Sky Mansion. Moreover, his grandfather is one of the 2 great protectors of the Profound Sky Mansion. Remembering what Su Jing had told him, Rong Fan couldn't help but tremble inside. The 2 great protectors of the Profound Sky Mansion were existences whose strength was second only to the mansion master in the Profound Sky Mansion, in no way weaker than their soaring heaven mansion's mansion master. But why would this Zhao Ji come to our soaring heaven mansion? Seeing Zhao Ji heading towards the soaring heaven mansion station, Rong Fan's face showed a look of confusion. As far as he knew, their soaring heaven mansion and the profound sky mansion had no dealings. Why would Zhao Ji, who was the #1 person among the second generation of the profound sky mansion, come to their soaring heaven mansion? Just as Rong Fan was racking his brains, a figure appeared out of thin air in the high sky above the soaring heaven mansion station. This was a middle-aged man, with some resemblance to Zhao Ji in his eyebrows. This person, could it be Zhao Ji's father? That vice mansion master of the profound sky mansion, Zhao Deng? It was no wonder Rong Fan would guess this, because the middle-aged man's appearance was very similar to Zhao Ji's. The middle-aged man was indeed Zhao Deng. "Jir, why are you here?" Zhao Deng descended from the sky, appearing before Zhao Ji and the other two, and asked with a frown. "Didn't I tell you to wait for news at home?" Zhao Deng's tone clearly carried a hint of reproach. "Father, I saw that you hadn't returned for a long time, so I came to check. How is it? Have you gotten that demonic cultivation method?" Zhao Ji stared at Zhao Deng with burning eyes, asking somewhat eagerly. That demonic cultivation method can only be obtained through soul-searching secret techniques after the remnant soul of Su Jing, the young mansion master of the soaring heaven mansion, recovers a bit more. Zhao Deng shook his head. "When this matter is concluded, we will take him back to the profound sky mansion." Zhao Ji nodded, then asked with a puzzled expression, "Father, why have you been delayed for so long?" It was precisely because Zhao Deng hadn't returned that Zhao Ji took the initiative to come here. He wanted to know the specific situation. He was also eager to obtain the demonic cultivation method practiced by the young mansion master of the soaring heaven mansion. Once obtained, his strength would rapidly increase. At that time, even Ling Tian would not be his opponent. He wanted to reclaim all the glory that Ling Tian had taken from him, which rightfully belonged to him. There have been some complications. A follower of Su Jing, the young mansion master of the soaring heaven mansion, has been missing without a trace. However, the mansion master and your grandfather have already gone to that follower's home, and they should be able to dig him out. Zhao Deng said. A follower probably wouldn't know about Su Jing cultivating a top-tier demonic cultivation method, would he? Zhao Ji frowned. Making such a big fuss for a follower, isn't that a bit of an overreaction? That follower is not an ordinary follower. When Su Jing obtained that demonic cultivation method, he might have been right there. At that time, he also followed Su Jing to participate in the soaring heaven ranking battle. Zhao Deng said with a grave expression. Therefore, if he doesn't die, our profound sky mansion's actions this time will inevitably leave hidden dangers. With the mansion master and grandfather personally taking action, he is sure to die. A cold light flashed in Zhao Ji's eyes as he said in a deep voice. Jir, go back. If the mansion master knows you've come too, he'll definitely reprimand you. Zhao Deng looked at Zhao Ji and said in a deep voice. Didn't Guli come too? Zhao Ji frowned, somewhat unconvinced. As Zhao Ji's father, Zhao Deng naturally heard the unconvincing tone in Zhao Ji's voice and immediately shook his head. You really shouldn't be unconvinced about this. This matter, besides having Ling Tian's contribution, is more due to Gu Li's contribution. Even if we don't consider that, just in terms of strength, you are far inferior to Gu Li. As he spoke, Zhao Deng's tone was somewhat of a lament for his son's failure to live up to expectations. If you have that much leisure, you might as well spend more time cultivating. Otherwise, let alone Gu Li, even that Ling Tian, you will never be able to compare to. Ling Tian. Zhao Ji's eyes were filled with a cold, murderous glint. He won't live much longer. Bai Ju He too, take him back. Zhao Deng looked at the two people behind Zhao Ji and ordered. The ones who came with Zhao Ji were none other than the profound Sky Mansion disciples Zhao Baiju and Zhao He too, the same two who had intended to attack Duan Ling Tian on the peak of the Heavenly Hall in the profound Sky Mansion. At that time, They had given up the idea of attacking Duan Lingtian because of Gu Li's appearance. Yes, master. Zhao Baiju and Zhao He too were both direct disciples of Zhao Deng. Hearing Zhao Deng's command, they respectfully responded, then looked at Zhao Ji in unison. Little junior brother, listen to master, let's go back. Although Zhao Ji wanted to stay and watch the commotion, Zhao Deng wouldn't allow it, so he had no choice but to walk back reluctantly. After Zhao Ji and the other two left, Zhao Deng also returned to the soaring Heaven Mansion station. Something seems off. Rong Fan, hidden in the distance, was too far away to hear what Zhao Deng and Zhao Ji were saying just now. However, he still felt that something was amiss. This Zhao Deng is the Vice Mansion Master of the Profound Sky Mansion. What is he doing at our soaring Heaven Mansion station? Taking a deep breath, Rong Fan made a decision in his heart. To be cautious, I can't return to the soaring Heaven Mansion station during this period. I'll go back and check after Zhao Deng leaves. With this thought, Rong Fan found a hidden place nearby to hide, while also keeping an eye on the essential path from the soaring Heaven Mansion station to the Profound Sky Mansion. In Tuafeng Town, the group of high-ranking officials led by Mansion Master Mengqing stayed for a full month, but still found no clues about Rong Fan. Rong Fan also didn't return that night as his parents had said, as if he had completely disappeared. Now, it can be confirmed that Rong Fan must have known something. He probably already suspected the identities of those disciples. Gu Xiaiyun, one of the two great protectors of the Profound Sky Mansion, said with a grim face. On that day, although our people went to chase after those who left Tuafeng Town, there were still 7 people we couldn't catch. Among those 7, someone must have seen Rong Fan and informed him of what happened in Tuafeng Town. Another protector, Zhao Jin, also said in a deep voice. 2 protectors, please go personally and capture those 7 people. Make them swear a thunder punishment oath to prove whether they have seen Rong Fan. Mengqing said. He also felt that the key to this matter was most likely with those 7 people. And as Gu Xiaiyun and Zhao Jin took action, the truth quickly came to light. Mansion Master. When Gu Xiaiyun and Zhao Jin returned, they brought back one person, who was none other than Rong Hong, who had met Rong Fan in the past. When Rong Hong was brought over, he was trembling all over. The strength of the 2 old men beside him made him feel fear from the bottom of his heart and soul. Without any action, their mere aura pressed him so hard, he couldn't breathe. If the 2 hadn't shown mercy, he would have suffocated long ago. Mansion Master, the person has been brought. When he heard the 2 old men beside him address the middle-aged man not far away as Mansion Master, his vision went black, and he almost fainted. Mansion Master? Could it be that this person is the Mansion Master of the Soaring Heaven Mansion? The Mansion Master of the Soaring Heaven Mansion actually came personally for Rong Fan? Damn Rong Fan. What trouble did you cause to make even the Mansion Master of the Soaring Heaven Mansion come personally? That's right. When Rong Fan and I last met, his expression was clearly off when he left. It seems he had already decided to flee for his life then. No wonder I haven't seen him for nearly a month. Thinking of this, Rong Hong's face was very ugly. He had kept Rong Fan's secret, but he didn't expect to drag himself into trouble instead. Mansion Master. Guessing that the person in front of him was the Mansion Master of the Soaring Heaven Mansion, Rong Hong immediately knelt on the ground, trembling all over. I didn't know Rong Fan had committed a crime. That's why I did something foolish. At this moment, Mengqing also learned about Rong Fan's departure from the 2 great protectors of the Profound Sky Mansion. He went towards the Soaring Heaven Mansion station. Mengqing looked at Rong Hong and asked for further confirmation. Yes. Rong Hong nodded quickly, like a chicken pecking rice, not daring to hesitate at all. Seeing that Rong Hong had lost his utility, Zhao Jin raised his hand and directly killed him. Hall Master Qian, you will temporarily lead 2 disciples to guard this area. If Rong Fan returns, make sure to kill him immediately. At the same time, Mengqing looked at Qian Pingxing, the Hall Master of the Yellow Hall, and ordered. Yes, Mansion Master. Qian Pingxing acknowledged the order. As for the others, follow me back to the Soaring Heaven Mansion. However, I suspect that Rongfan probably hasn't returned to the Soaring Heaven Mansion station. Otherwise, our people stationed there would have already reported about Rongfan. At this moment, even Meng Qing, the mansion master of the Profound Sky Mansion, had a somewhat grim expression. Even though the fish that got away was insignificant, if the news of this incident were to spread, their Profound Sky Mansion would inevitably face considerable trouble. Duan Ling Tian only learned about these matters after Gu Li returned. So, before you returned, you didn't find any trace of that Rongfan? Duan Ling Tian asked. No. Gu Li shook his head with a bitter smile. Now, Hall Master Qian of the Yellow Hall is personally stationed in Tuafeng Town, and Zhao Deng and his son are personally stationed in the Soaring Heaven Mansion station, all waiting for Rongfan to show up. That Rongfan. It seems he's quite smart. He didn't return to the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost. But now, I don't know if he's aware of the whole situation yet. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed as he spoke. Rongfan, he had indeed seen him before. He was the hunched young man who followed Su Jing, the young mansion master of Soaring Heaven Mansion, during the Soaring Heaven Rankings battle. He was very inconspicuous. The reason Duan Ling Tian remembered him was because of his hunched back. As for other features, he had no impression. He probably doesn't know yet. Otherwise, the news would have spread before we returned. Gu Li said, currently, Zhao Deng and his son are personally stationed at the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost. Anyone entering the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost can only enter, not leave. So, for a short period, there's no need to worry about the news of the annihilation of Soaring Heaven Mansion's high-ranking officials and elite disciples spreading. If this matter gets out, Soaring Heaven Mansion will also be removed from the list of fourth-rate forces. However, paper can't cover fire forever. In the future, how does the Mansion Master plan to proceed? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. According to the Mansion Master's intention, Zhao Deng and his son will first be stationed at the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost for a period, and then others will be sent to rotate with them. This will continue until Su Jing, the young Mansion Master of Soaring Heaven Mansion, has his remnant soul recovered enough to fully withstand the soul-searching secret art. Gu Li said, if the demonic cultivation method Su Jing cultivates is a heinous one, then the people there will be withdrawn. That way, even if the news spreads, outsiders will only say that our Profound Sky Mansion is acting on behalf of heaven. But if the demonic cultivation method is a relatively normal one, then people will be continuously stationed at the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost in Camelback Town until Rongfan is caught. Upon hearing Gu Li's words, although Duan Ling Tian could understand Mansion Master Meng Qing's approach, he wasn't optimistic about it. Even if that demonic cultivation method was one of the more normal types, and even if Profound Sky Mansion frequently sent people to guard the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost, something would definitely go wrong eventually. Paper, after all, cannot cover fire forever. It would be fine if the people of Profound Sky Mansion were imprisoning ordinary people. But the problem was that Soaring Heaven Mansion, as a fourth-rate force, was also governed by a quasi-third-rate force. Sooner or later, people from the quasi-third-rate force would go to the Soaring Heaven Mansion's outpost. Once people from the quasi-third-rate force were killed or imprisoned, their entire force would undoubtedly be alarmed. At that time, Profound Sky Mansion might not be able to conceal the news that Soaring Heaven Mansion's core strength had been annihilated, almost to the point of being wiped out. Of course, regardless of that quasi-third-rate force, Duan Ling Tian also felt that it wouldn't be long before the secret got out. After all, constantly guarding and monitoring a place, any normal person would become careless. No one can be completely foolproof. However, although Duan Ling Tian was not optimistic about Mansion Master Meng Qing's approach, he didn't say much. This matter, in the end, had little to do with him. As for that demonic cultivation method, whether it was a heinous one or a relatively normal one, he had no interest in it whatsoever. Because he had never thought of cultivating a demonic cultivation method and becoming a demonic cultivator. since the solar true essence was born within me. I haven't used the demon sealing tablet yet. With the solar true essence's strength comparable to the early stage of the Great Saint Realm, I should now be able to kill all demonic cultivators below the Earth Saint Realm by using the demon sealing tablet. At this thought, Duan Ling Tian's mood surged again. One must know that existences above the Earth Saint Realm were few and far between, even in the profound Sky Mansion. At least, according to the information he had received, within the profound Sky Mansion, only 3 people had entered the Earth Saint Realm: Mansion Master Meng Qing, and the 2 protectors of profound Sky Mansion, Gu Xiai Yun and Zhao Jin. Senior brother Gu Li, you are the son of Protector Gu. You should know his current cultivation level, right? I heard that Protector Gu is an Earth Saint Realm expert. Catching a glimpse of Gu Li from the corner of his eye, Duan Ling Tian remembered that Gu Li was the son of Protector Gu. He must know Protector Gu's cultivation level. Yes. Facing Duan Ling Tian's inquiry, Gu Li did not hide anything and said directly, "My father's cultivation broke through to the early Earth Saint Realm years ago, just like that Zhao Jin." Zhao Jin is also in the early Earth Saint Realm. Duan Ling Tian was surprised. Yes. Gu Li nodded. According to my father, in our profound Sky Mansion, there are only 4 Earth Saint Realm existences. Among them, the Mansion Master's strength is the strongest, and he and that old fellow from the Zhao family are the weakest. 4 Earth Saint Realm? The 2 great protectors are the weakest. Duan Ling Tian widened his eyes. Besides the Mansion Master, there's one more. Guess. Gu Li smiled. Seeing the mischievous smile in Gu Li's eyes, a flash of inspiration struck Duan Ling Tian's mind, and he thought of someone. Could it be the guardian of the Heavenly Palace spiritual pool? Senior brother Gu Li's Grandmaster? That's right. Gu Li nodded, then sighed. It's just that Grandmaster's fate wasn't good. He suffered severe injuries in the past, causing his cultivation to stagnate. Otherwise, with his talent back then, he would have long been in Heaven Saint Realm existence. Grandmaster should have been adventuring and cultivating in the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, but because of his injuries, he could only helplessly stay in the lower domain. Upper domain, isn't it for existences above the Great Saint Realm? With Senior's strength, I'm afraid he can go to the upper domain whenever he wants, right? Duan Ling Tian asked doubtfully. That's indeed the case. Gu Li first nodded, then showed a bitter smile. Although that's true, Grandmaster, as a martial arts genius of his generation, was unwilling to face his former senior and junior brothers, who were once inferior to him, surpassing him one by one. It was precisely because of his self-esteem that he chose to stay in the lower domain, willing to be an inconspicuous spiritual pool guardian. Duan Ling Tian suddenly understood. If that was the case, it was understandable. Senior brother Gu Li. In the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, are there any Heaven Saint Realm existences? Duan Ling Tian asked a question that had always puzzled him. Yes. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, Gu Li gave him a definite answer. Yes? But, as far as I know, there don't seem to be any Heaven Saint Realm existences among the quasi-third-rate forces in the Dao Martial Saint Land. Logically speaking, Earth Saint Realm existences, although they don't have infinite lifespans, can live for 1 or 2,000 years without much problem. With such a long life, someone should eventually break through to the Heaven Saint Realm, right? Duan Ling Tian was even more puzzled. There are indeed, but they are not among the quasi-third-rate forces. Gu Li continued, the Heaven Saint Realm experts in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Besides those reclusive hidden experts, are only the guardians who watch over the connection between the upper domain and the lower domain. Guardians? Duan Ling Tian frowned. What are those? Guardians are Heaven Saint Realm experts from the first-rate forces of the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Their duty is to oversee the lower domain. Once a Heaven Saint Realm expert appears in the lower domain, they must leave the lower domain for the upper domain immediately. If they dare to cause any commotion in the lower domain, the Guardians will consider how to punish that Heaven Saint Realm expert based on the severity of the matter. Gu Li said with a look of dread. There was once a peak Earth Saint Realm expert who, after breaking through to the Heaven Saint Realm, wanted to unify the lower domain with his powerful strength. Guess what his final fate was? What fate? Duan Lingtian asked. A Heaven Saint Realm expert, if ambitious, could indeed unify the lower domain. He died, killed by a guardian. Gu Li said. What? Hearing Gu Li's words, Duan Lingtian was immediately greatly surprised. A Heaven Saint Realm expert was actually killed? And the one who did it was that guardian. According to the rules set by the first-rate forces of the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, once a Heaven Saint Realm Martial Cultivator or Dao Cultivator appears in the lower domain, they must leave the lower domain immediately to avoid disturbing the balance of the lower domain. Of course, Heaven Saint Realm experts can choose to stay in the lower domain, but they are not allowed to take action. Once they take action, the Guardian will eliminate them. Because of this, in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, almost all existences who break through to the Heaven Saint Realm choose to leave. Although the lower domain is good, if you can't take action, having strong cultivation is useless. Only the upper domain is their stage. Gu Li said a lot in one breath, also letting Duan Lingtian know some things he hadn't known before. These were not recorded in the ancient texts he had read. The first-rate forces of the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land really manage a wide range. Duan Lingtian sighed. It is said to be an order issued jointly by the three colossal forces of the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the three great sects. The first-rate forces of the upper domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land merely follow orders. Gu Li added, 3 great sects. Upon hearing Gu Li's words, Duan Lingtian's pupils immediately constricted. The fire worship sect was one of the 3 great sects, and his fiancée had been taken away by people from the fire worship sect. However, Duan Lingtian's agitated emotions were quickly suppressed by him, and he regained his composure. No wonder there are no Heaven Saint Realm existences among the quasi-third-rate forces in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land. So there are guardians overseeing them, preventing Heaven Saint Realm experts from causing trouble in the lower domain. Duan Lingtian suddenly understood. Currently, the strongest in the lower domain of the Dao Martial Saint Land should be the leader of the Inshan Black Market and the mansion master of the Azure Cloud Mansion, right? Duan Lingtian asked again. Yes. Gu Li nodded. The leader of the Inshan Black Market and the mansion master of the Azure Cloud Mansion, according to my father, are both peak existences at the Earth Saint Realm. Most importantly, both of them are demonic cultivators, and their strength is greater than that of ordinary martial cultivators and Dao cultivators. Once they break through to the Heaven Saint Realm, they won't be able to take action. At that time, the Inshan Black Market and the Azure Cloud Mansion will probably have a hard time, won't they? Duan Lingtian added. Breaking through to the Heaven Saint Realm isn't that simple. Gu Li shook his head. Compared to ordinary peak Earth Saint Realm experts, both of them are much younger. They still have a long way to go at the peak Earth Saint Realm, so before they complete this journey, they will have plenty of time to cultivate qualified successors. Besides, even if they truly reach the Heavenly Saint Realm, they can still act under passive circumstances. For example, if they are guarding a faction they control and someone wants to act against that faction, as long as they are not over 100 years old at that time, they can fight back, Gu Li said. This? Senior brother Gu Li, didn't you say earlier that Heavenly Saint Realm experts cannot act in the lower domain? You didn't mention being able to fight back passively just now. Duan Lingtian was bewildered, becoming increasingly confused about the rules imposed by the first-rate factions of the Dao Martial Sacred Land upper domain against Heavenly Saint Realm experts in the lower domain. Generally, Heavenly Saint Realm experts cannot even fight back. However, there are exceptions. Any Heavenly Saint Realm expert in the lower domain under the age of 100, while unable to take the initiative to attack, has the right to fight back passively. Furthermore, Those who reach the Heavenly Saint realm under the age of 100 are generally recruited by the guard into the first-rate faction of the Dao Martial Sacred Land upper domain, where he is stationed. Gu Li continued. Because of this, Heavenly Saint realm experts under the age of 100 have privileges in the lower domain. If they have a good relationship with the guard, even if they take the initiative to attack, as long as it is not excessive, the guard can turn a blind eye. Hearing this, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but smile bitterly and shake his head. It seems that no matter where you are, having connections makes a difference. The leader of the Yinshan Black Market, the mansion master of Qingyan Mansion, are they both under 100 years old? At the same time, Duan Lingtian realized this question. Yes. Gu Li nodded, his face showing a look of reverence as he said, whether it is the leader of the Yinshan Black Market or the mansion master of Qingyan Mansion. They are both existences with the potential to enter the Heavenly Saint realm before the age of 100. Such prodigies are rare in our Dao Wu Sacred Land lower domain. Entering the Heavenly Saint realm before the age of 100? Even Duan Lingtian could not help but be surprised. Although he was confident in entering the Heavenly Saint realm before the age of 100, and even confident in entering the Heavenly Saint realm before the age of 50. However, the reason he had such confidence was mostly because he possessed the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. The time flow in the third layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was 5 times slower than outside. And this was just the third layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Once the fourth layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was repaired, the time flow inside would be 8 times slower than outside. 8 times slower, what kind of concept was that? It meant that for 1 day outside, 8 days had already passed in the fourth layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Moreover, according to Elder Hua, the cultivation environment in the fourth layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was far superior to that of the third layer. Once the fourth layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was repaired, his cultivation would surely advance by leaps and bounds. Repairing the fourth layer of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda sooner will allow me to reach the Great Saint Realm and comprehend a divine ability sooner. By then, even if I go to the Dao Martial Sacred Land upper domain, I will have the power to protect myself. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian immediately looked at Gu Li and changed the subject, saying, "Senior brother Gu Li, there is something I would like to ask for your help with." "Junior brother Lingtian, there is no need for such formalities between us. Just tell me what it is. As long as I, Gu Li, can do it. Even if it means going through fire and water, I will get it done for you," Gu Li said with a solemn vow. Hearing Gu Li's words, Duan Lingtian was naturally moved and quickly said, "It doesn't require going through fire and water. I just want to ask senior brother Gu Li to help me find some materials. If it's convenient, please also introduce me to Protector Gu. With Protector Gu's connections, helping to find those materials will surely be more efficient." "Junior brother Lingtian, you are being too polite with those words. There is nothing inconvenient about it. Right now, come with me to see the old man in my family. Even if he is in closed-door cultivation, I will call him out." Gu Li readily patted his chest and assured Duan Lingtian, "That won't be necessary." Duan Lingtian quickly shook his head. Gu Li chuckled, then stood up and beckoned to Duan Lingtian, "Junior brother Lingtian, let's go. Come with me to see the old man in my family. He returned with me, so he shouldn't have had time to enter closed-door cultivation yet. Besides, he has always wanted to meet you, but never had the chance." Under Gu Li's guidance, Duan Lingtian met Gu Ziyun. The latter had come out to welcome him, which made him feel somewhat flattered. "You are Lingtian? Truly a dragon and phoenix among men." Seeing Duan Lingtian, Gu Ziyun was all smiles, without any of the airs that a protector of the Xiankong mansion should have. "Come in and sit." The reason Gu Ziyun was so polite to Duan Lingtian was largely because Duan Lingtian was his son's friend. One must know that throughout the entire Xiankong mansion, his son did not have many friends, and as for a friend like Duan Lingtian with whom he could share his heart, there was only one, and that was Duan Lingtian. Another part of the reason was naturally because Duan Lingtian had given his son a great credit. Discovering that the young mansion master of Chongshao Mansion was cultivating a top-tier demonic path cultivation technique was a matter of great importance to the Xiankong Mansion. Because of this, the mansion master had even personally praised his son and promised many benefits to their Gu family lineage. Reasonably and emotionally, he had no reason to slight Duan Lingtian. Protector Gu, please. While feeling flattered, Duan Lingtian did not become arrogant because of the favor. He still faced Gu Xiun with the attitude of a junior. Seeing this, Gu Xiun felt very comfortable in his heart, feeling that his son had finally made the right friend. Of course, he did not put on the airs of a dignified elder because of Duan Lingtian's attitude as a junior. From beginning to end, he received Duan Lingtian very warmly, appearing just like a kind elder. Lingtian, in private from now on, you don't need to address me as Protector Gu. Since you are Lier's friend, just call me Uncle Gu. Gu Xiun personally poured a cup of tea for Duan Lingtian and said to him with a smile, Uncle Gu. Duan Lingtian was not a pedantic person, so he did not decline, but in his heart, he had a few more points of respect for Gu Xiun. This was an elder worth respecting. Father, junior brother Lingtian came with me to see you this time. Besides wanting to meet you, he also wants to ask for your help in finding some special materials. Seeing Duan Lingtian and Gu Xiun exchanging pleasantries and not mentioning the main business for a long time, Gu Li, who was on the side, was anxious for them. Oh. Hearing Gu Li's words, Gu Xiun looked at Duan Lingtian. Little Tian, I wonder what materials you need Uncle Gu to help you find. After several exchanges, Gu Xiun's address for Duan Lingtian had also changed, becoming much closer. Uncle Gu, the materials I need are all on here. With a wave of his hand, Duan Lingtian took out a drawing, on which the shapes and appearances of many materials were drawn, with text descriptions next to them. It was exactly what he had prepared during his spare time while in closed-door cultivation a while ago. For these materials, I ask Uncle Gu to use your connections to help find them. As for how many saint stones are needed, just let me know the number when the time comes. However, even Duan Lingtian did not expect that as his words fell, both Gu Xiun's and Gu Li's expressions darkened slightly. For a moment, he also realized that he had said the wrong thing. Sure enough, Gu Li was the first to look at Duan Lingtian and said with a serious face, Junior brother Lingtian, although we have not known each other for long, what matters is sharing our hearts. In my heart, I have long regarded you as a close friend of many years. By mentioning saint stones in front of me, aren't you being a bit distant? Little Tian, Uncle Gu is not short of those saint stones. To be honest, if you weren't Lier's friend, even if you brought more saint stones, I might not necessarily help you. Gu Xiun also expressed his stance. Uncle Gu, senior brother Gu Li, this matter was my oversight, I was wrong. Duan Lingtian apologized immediately. He had realized this problem just now, but since the words were already spoken, it was impossible to take them back, so he could only try to remedy it now. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the expressions of both father and son, Gu Xiun and Gu Li, softened. I will make multiple copies of these materials and use my connections to search for them. However, some of the materials on here are things I have never even seen before. Therefore, for these materials, I dare not guarantee that I will be able to find them all. Gu Xiun glanced at the drawing in his hand again, then said to Duan Lingtian. Although he wanted to help Duan Lingtian find all these materials, because he did not recognize some of them, he dared not make any guarantees. I understand this, Uncle Gu, just do your best. Duan Lingtian nodded. He did not expect Gu Xiun to be able to help him find all the materials. According to Elder Hua, some of these materials were considered relatively rare even in the myriad heavens plane. The matter regarding the materials for repairing the fourth layer of the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda came to an end, and Duan Lingtian could finally calm down and cultivate. As for the matter regarding the young mansion master of Chongshao Mansion, Su Jing, and the demonic path cultivation technique that Su Jing was cultivating, he did not ask about it, nor was he interested in asking. However, Just because he was not interested in asking did not mean that others thought the same. A month later, Duan Lingtian was summoned by the mansion master of Xiankong Mansion, Meng Qing. Although this was the second time Duan Lingtian had met Meng Qing, the last time he met Meng Qing, there was a group of people present, while today, only he was alone, which was a completely different feeling. However, although the feeling was different, he did not feel stage fright. Mansion Master Duan Lingtian took the initiative to greet Meng Qing, who was sitting at the head of the main hall, still the same as before, not respectfully calling him Lord. Regarding this, Meng Qing did not mind. After smiling and beckoning Duan Lingtian to sit down, he got straight to the point and said, Lingtian, regarding the matter of Su Jing obtaining a demonic path cultivation technique that records the soul gathering method, the reason our Xiankong mansion was able to know about it is due to your first-class merit. The mansion master summoned me here just for this matter? Duan Lingtian could not help but be stunned. Not entirely. Meng Qing first shook his head, then continued, I heard that regarding the matter of Su Jing obtaining a demonic path cultivation technique that records the soul gathering method. You also heard it from your senior brother Li Feng. And your senior brother Li Feng has already gone to the upper domain to find your master. Presumably, your master should already know by now that Su Jing is cultivating a top-tier demonic path cultivation technique, right?